Hi, welcome to AllBrands After Hours with me, your host, Courtney Douthat. Welcome to the show where we hang out and craft together. Today we'll be making the OESD Freestanding Lace Hot Air Balloon with our ScanNCut and our embroidery machine. Let's do this. So the hot air balloon I'm making is freestanding lace, but there are strips of fabric in there. And I love that because then I can choose the fabrics that I want, the colors that I want, and really customize it. So they're like little bitty panels. So let's jump into our machine and grab the freestanding lace design and grab that panel so we can have our ScanNCut cut out the perfect shape that we need. Now this is an OESD design, freestanding lace design. I will have it linked down below. Alrighty, so I'm gonna wake up my machine up. Hit OK. There we go. And now I currently do have the USB already plugged into the side, so I'm going to go to retrieve data from my USB. And then here's all the breakdowns of my designs. Now that's really cool. Like you can see the little bitty, what would you call that, ribbon that's around it? I'm not really sure. You scroll down, all the different ones. So there's the chevron one. There's one that has the boxes. This one right here is the first one that I want. So I'm going to select that design. And now if you're like, Courtney, it looks like only the little bitty node right there is selected. No, the whole thing is. I know, it threw me off the first time it happened too. So if we were to select the flower, that's where we can go and make our design. If the design already came with an applique piece, or and usually it's in an SVG file, then we could go to the shield and then we could actually pull that. So since this design did not come with a pre-done, cut file for our applique, I wouldn't select the shield. I would come over here and select the flowers so we could really make our own. So right here, I'm not going to change the size just yet. Usually you do want to up at least 2 little plus signs whenever you do an applique. This one's a little bit different, so I'll show you how I do it because there's actually an additional line that is tricking this design that I noticed. So I'm going to hit OK. All right, so right here is all the little bitty pieces of that freestanding lace design. This is just the outer part, and then this right here is the stitches. Now, usually I would select this center one right here, but it did catch the little bitty nodes that you need to be able to connect the hot air balloon together. So I can't select that one, but usually I would come here to the color sort right here, and then it would break it down even further. But this doesn't even help me right now because everything in that one area is the same color. The only thing that was a different color is this one little bitty node. It is the only one that's a different color. So the way that I get around this is I actually come to this one and I'll select it and I'll hit OK. And then what I do is I unselect this grouping tool right here, because if I hit set, I could set this on my mat and actually select everything and then unselect it and break it down further for me. So I'm going to come to edit, the selector tools, unselect everything and hit OK. So now what I can do is I can actually take the design apart. Now we remember this is the part that I didn't want because of those nodes. But there are internal parts right here that I could pull out. And every design is different, but usually you can at least break it down a little further. So I'm going to come to here and I'm actually going to place this inside of here like this because I am going to enlarge it. That way I know that it's going to catch, because these little things right here actually were inside of here if you didn't notice that. And they are the reason that it threw this design off and didn't make it the correct size. If those little stitches right there weren't, and it's just a design of this particular hot air balloon, but if those had not been there, then I wouldn't have to be doing the stuff I'm about to do. So very frustrated, those little parts right there. So anyways, I'm gonna bring this in right here and I'm just gonna up the size a bit. So we come to Object Edit, the resizer tool right here, and then I'm just going to up the size of it just a little. Okay. Now I am going to lock this design because personal choice is I don't want the fabric to go into this top part area right here and down here, and if I resized a lot more it would go in those areas, but I do want it to be wider to make sure that it does catch. And again, the only reason for that is because of these darn stitch out parts right there. So I am going to up the width. go. Alrighty, so now she looks a lot better, and she's gonna catch a lot better, which is nice. Now, Courtney, how do you know exactly how much to resize it? Honestly, I usually recommend just using a scrap piece of fabric and maybe cutting out a piece so you can test it on your design. Like, go ahead and do the tack down line of the applique that you're doing and then just test it. I'm making a ton of these hot air balloons because I love the idea of groups of them and making a mobile. So I don't mind it. And then once I do have that size, I am just gonna save it. So let's hit okay. We now have that piece. So that's the piece we need. The rest of this, we're just gonna toss on out. And you could come to your selector tools even if you wanted to. Come here where you could scale in what you want to delete and then delete just by a whole group. There we go. So now we have our piece here. How cool is that? Now OESD does give you the actual applique design, so the outline that you could print out and scan into your ScanNCut in the instructions. So I highly recommend just printing it out and scanning it into your ScanNCut. It's way easier than what I'm doing, and it's totally exact. So they do give you that design to be able to print out. Alrighty, so I'm actually going to bring the piece over here. It's just a habit. I'm going to go to Object Edit, and I'm actually going to add a couple of these because I need 8 of panels to be able to make one hot air balloon. So I might as well cut them all out at once. I've got all 8 on here. I'm going to select OK, and I'm actually going to hit OK, and then I'm going to come to this tool right here. This tool is really cool. It actually will line them all up for me. Now you could tell it to do it a staggered effect like this, or if I wanted them more to be uniform, then I could have that, or more like this. So it's personal preference what you prefer. I actually like them all. And then even if you do sort them like this, you can come back and move them yourself. So if you're like, oh, you know what, it could have been closer over here, or you know what, maybe my fabric is a funny shape, then I could even scan the fabric in with this button right here, scan it in, and then sort them out that way. But I love how it just goes ahead and it lays them all out nicely for me. All right, so now that we have those, let's go ahead and we're gonna select OK. Please select, and we wanna cut. Now for today, you could use 2 different blades. It's 100% up to you. Depending on what machine you bought, you either have this blade, which is the thin fabric blade, or you have this blade, which is the rotary blade. This one, if you've watched the show, you know how much I love this blade. I love this blade. It's so good because it really does a great job on cutting trickier fabrics. Now, for what we're doing, cotton fabric, regular cotton fabric, this blade right here, the thin fabric blade, could do us just fine. But that rotary blade, again, it's so good. So today I am going to use my fabric blade right here, but depending on which one that you have, either of these could work for the particular project that we're doing. All it is just regular cotton material. So I'm going to, sorry rotary blade, I'm going to drop the thin fabric blade. Make sure I have a blade in there because I had a few that didn't the other day, and I like cut, and then I was like, wait, why didn't it cut? Because there was no blade in there, because I had taken it out because it was old and it was time to put a new one in. Now, something that my coworker Robert said, that our coworker Karen, who she does like a ton of freestanding lace. I will of course show you all of her cool freestanding lace designs that she's done, but he was telling me that she actually recommends to put a thing of peel and stick for this particular project behind the fabric before you cut it out to give it some stability. She felt like if you didn't, then it was kind of flimsy even when it stitched out the freestanding lace around it. She said it didn't give it the right structure of what she wanted, so she actually recommends to put a peel and stick right behind it. And I'm going to try that out because I get her concept. So I have my fabric here. This is some really cute little stars. I'm going to flip it over and then take my peel and stick stabilizer. Now, I'm sure you could use a number of things. Yeah, I think she's on to something. Just a little bit of hold, and nothing's going to happen to it whenever you get it wet to take all the stitches out from your freestanding lace. So I get why she did that. All right, we're going to pop it down on here. And I have this fabric, it's already cut to a 12 by 12, but if you wanted to do this on a 12 by 24, you absolutely could do that. Now the only thing is that a fabric mat, which is what we're going to use today, does not come in a 12 by 24 at the time of me making this video. Now, I have been begging Brother, if you've watched the show, you know I have been begging Brother to please come out with a 12 by 24 fabric mat, because it would be just, it would be so amazing. So right now it's only available in a 12 by 12, but hopefully one day they will hear our cries and they will come out with 12x24. So that will be a very exciting day. Now, so since I've put the peel and stick on the back, it now has a paper backing. So would I put that paper backing on a fabric mat? No, it would tear this paper backing to shreds. So what I'm personally going to do is actually put the fabric side down of my fabric on my fabric mat. So technically you would have to flip your design if it was directional, but since my pieces aren't directional in any kind of way, it's perfectly fine to be able to do it like this. Now Courtney, if it had paper backing, why wouldn't you just put it on a low tack mat? Because I'm more worried about the fabric than I am about this paper backing. So say that something slipped or did something funny on it, I'm more worried about my fabric being cut correctly than a little bit of this peel and stick stabilizer. So that's why I personally do it. Plus I want it to have a good hold, because of course that's how the ScanNCut works, by holding things really well. So for me personally, this makes more sense for me. All right, so I'm gonna put this down on my fabric mat. Oh, this is so neat. If you want to use your brayer tool just to be able to brayer it down on there, you are more than welcome to. My fabric mat was pretty clean, so I don't think I'll have any issues with this. All right, there we go. All right, she's ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and load her. All right, everything looks great. So let's go ahead. Half cut is off, of course, because half cut is whenever you're doing vinyl, and we're not doing vinyl right now. So everything looks great. Let's hit start. All right, so she's gonna come down, test the thickness of our fabric to be able to cut out her designs. I love an auto blade. Now, Courtney, did you tell it any pressures? Did you tell it anything about what you were cutting? Anything at all? You even added an extra layer of something. It's totally fine. We have auto blades. Auto blades are fantastic in the ScanNCut because it's automatically going to detect how thick that material is and where its mat is, because it doesn't want to cut its mat out. So it's going to make sure that it stays away from there. Now, a question that I saw someone did ask on one of the previous videos is, Courtney, what if I get a bit of scoring on my mat? If I see just a little bit where it cut out, is that ruining my mat? Is my mat okay? Your mat's totally fine. So a bit of scoring, depending on the material or something crazy like we're doing now, you might get a bit of scoring. Your mat's totally fine. That is something completely normal. Now, does it shorten the life of my mat? No, I haven't personally noticed it shorten the life of my mat when it does a bit of scoring, and it's not going to do that on everything that you cut. It just kind of depends. Now, I've noticed it does it a lot on when I'm cutting out like thin balsa wood. You're done already? Thin balsa wood or puffy foam, I might get a little scoring on that. Okay. Now I should be really good and get my spatula and take this off very carefully, very ceremoniously. I think that's the word. Is that a word? I don't know. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Oh, and it does such a good job that there are little bits like this that I didn't cut out of. So say something crazy happens to one of my panels when I'm stitching out, I'm gonna keep this. And then that way if I need to cut out a second one, or I think I could fit 2 of them on here, but if I needed this, the machine cut it out so well that I could keep using this if I needed to. Like, how cool is that? I'm always geeking out about how clean it cuts, because that is helpful, especially if it's a material that I, spend a lot of money on, like a leather or something like that. I want to make sure that I can keep using it. How cool is that? This was untreated cotton fabric. Now, we did put that peel and stick on the back of it, but like, seriously. It did so well. Now I am noticing just a bit of fraying. It's the smallest bit because it was untreated, but and I'm not being very careful about getting it off my mat. But it's doing a good job. Something that I love to do is I like to push it towards the end of my mat, and then I just kind of pull up on it, so that way I'm bending the mat. Not bending the mat, but I'm pushing the mat down, and it makes things pop off pretty easily. So I'm just gonna do that. The more careful you are with taking your fabric off of your fabric mat, the less fraying you're getting. You think it's fibers. It's just a ton of fibers on a really sticky mat. So again, the more cautious you are, the better. Do as I say, not as I do. There you go. Now look at that. We already have every single one of our pieces for our panels of our hot air balloon cut out. And it would have been a lot shorter if I wouldn't talk as much. So now they're all cut out. So that whole step that we would have to do later on inside of our machine, inside of a hoop with applique scissors, we've already just completed. So let's jump over to our machine and start stitching out our hot air balloon with our freestanding lace. All right, so we're over here near my embroidery machine. I went ahead and put my USB right here in the side Same one that I used on my ScanNCut, and I'm going to go to embroidery, right here to the pocket, and then to my USB, and there's my design. So this is the piece that I want to do first, and I'm going to hit set. How gorgeous. I am actually going to come to add and take in another one of those because I like to do them 2 at a time personally. So I just boop, boop, and I span them out enough where they're not right up on each other, because if you do it right on each other, then it's where you get a little puckering, because that has a lot of stitches to go into one area. So I like to give them a little bit of space, but then they're working great. Now, again, if you want to fill up your hoop with them, that's totally fine. Just make sure you get a bit of distance. You don't want to overpack that hoop, and then you're going to get a lot of puckering and a lot of distortion. So I like to at least do 2 or maybe 3 when I'm doing this. Makes it a little bit easier. If I hit embroidery right here, I can actually go out to my layout and then color sort right here, and that's going to color sort. So if you notice up here, it's got the black and then the other colors. I can color sort, and then it's going to put all my tack down stitches all together and everything like that. So absolutely love being able to color sort. Now today I am going to use this stapler right here. It is the Exquisite Sew and Wash. I personally really like this. I mean, on here it literally says soft stable fabric designed to dissolve easily in water, use as base of embroidery, lace, and or freestanding embroidery, which is exactly what we're doing. So this was made for that, and I love this kind of stabilizer, and you can tell that it is that water soluble. It has like little bitty holes in it. So I like to use at least 2 or 3 pieces of this, at least 2 pieces. So I have my hoop right here ready to go with 2 pieces of that stabilizer. Now, Courtney, why are you using 2 pieces of it? Well, because that's a lot of heavy stitches, again, right in one area. So to give it some good stability, I like to at least use 2 pieces of it, and it washes away great. So I'm going to load my hoop. Now, usually I would use my bigger hoop and one of my magnetic hoops. Brother has a magnetic hoop, which is actually really great because it has multiple magnets all the way around to make sure you're getting that really tight hold, because you want this to feel like a really solid drum, because again, all the awesome thread that's going into it, we want it to really hold it down well. Now, the one I'm using today is a 9.5 by 9.5, and I cannot find my 9.5 by 9.5 magnetic hoops. Not even my dime ones, because you know how much I love a good dime hoop. I can't even find that. So today we're using the regular ones. Do I prefer my other ones? Yes. But for what we're doing, we're only hooping the stabilizer, so I guess that's okay. All right, so we have our hoop on there. I am using metallic Keenstar thread, and if you have never seen metallic Keenstar thread, you are missing out. It is fantastic. This is a bronze one that I'm going to use later as the little carriage part. It's going to be adorable. And then inside of there, so think freestanding lace, you're seeing both sides of it. So for the top, I'm using that gold metallic thread, but for the bottom, I'm actually using this exquisite thread right here to fill my bobbins. Now, I do have a bobbin in there already, but I was just using these empty bobbins and filling them up with my bobbin winder that's on my Luminaire, and I'll have a couple of them right here. Everything is ready to go. Looks great. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to go ahead and do my stitches out. So my outline stitches for my applique. Now, you can, of course, put these right on there and they'll be fine. I like to just hit them with a little bit of 505 in the back. Just a smidge. Not anything crazy, not anything that's going to gum up anything. Actually, I usually put this over my trash can and go, and it's just good. See, you can't even tell where I sprayed. It's just like, just a little. So she did our first tack down line. She's going to go ahead and do our second one. This is just letting us know where to put our applique piece on there to actually be able to have it tacked down. Now, whenever I use my Keenstar thread, I really like to use my thread stand that came with my Luminaire machine. It just, honestly, it does it way smoother and gives me a great result, which Keenstar thread doesn't really break on me. I don't feel like I ever have issues with it. It's a really good thread. So just, there you go. That's all you need. All right, so we have our stitch down right here, and I'm just going to go ahead and lay this on there. Oh, it's upside down. There we go. I was like, why isn't it fitting? Because it's upside down, Courtney. Oh, beautiful. There we go. So again, with this one, doing the same thing. I have my piece, just a little bit of 505 on it, just a smidge. And then we're going to just lay it down on there. Alrighty, so now that we have that down, again, the 505, just just gonna hold it down just a little bit so it doesn't completely move on me. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit that green button to do our next stitch that's gonna stitch it all down. Fantastic! Okay, great. Now she's going to jump over to the other one and do the same thing. Looks great. So now we're going to go ahead and do the next stitch, which is going to be, I think, the inner part stitch. Remember that line that was messing us up earlier? That one. Yep, that's what it's doing. So our applique piece that are on our hot air balloon, that thing is down. It is very much stitched down right now. Now the next part, we actually need to change out the colors. All right, so I'm going to cut my color here, pull from the bottom, and then I'm actually going to switch from this beautiful metallic Kingstar gold that we're using. If you want to know, this is MG1 gold. And I'm going to switch to this really pretty silver because we're actually going to stitch out this little bitty node. It's this little bitty part that's going to be able to connect that pretty ribbon that goes around, or the ribbon that we're going to make. And I want that to be done in silver. So I'm going to just switch over to the silver for right now. And then I also am going to switch out my bobbin because the bobbin I have is that pretty gold, that exquisite gold. So I'm just going to pull out my frame. Pull out my frame real fast. Lay her over here real quick. Pop open my bobbin. Like I said, I had that gold bobbin in there to match, so she's perfectly fine. I'm just going to set her with her friends and grab my white bobbin because I am going to use white because I'm using silver, so I feel like it will blend pretty well. There we go. How easy is that to switch out the bobbin? Love it. All right. Go ahead and load my mat back in. Lock her down and hit green. Alright, now we've switched back to gold. But the nice part is, since we did color sort it, we have to switch out less. So I highly recommend just color sort your design if you can. Now sometimes it can't fully color sort because, you know, a certain color needs to go under a certain color. But the things that you can color sort, you might as well do it. Saves you a few seconds of time, a few minutes of time, however you want to say it. And then honestly saves you a little bit of thread. So I love color sorting. Love an automatic threader. So good. So I am going to switch out my bobbin one more time. It's switching out the colors. Now, unless you run out of bobbin, then you'll have to, of course, switch it out then. But for what we're doing, this is the only time we have to switch out the bobbin color. Now mine's stitching out really well. Everything looks perfect. But if you did notice any puckering or anything messing up, go ahead and float another piece of the stabilizer under the wash away. Go ahead and float another piece under there and it should help with that. But mine's doing great, knock on wood. Alright, so now we're in the long stretch, which is the stitch out of everything else. so she's completely stitched out. It looks so good. So I'm going to go ahead and unhoop. Take my hoop off. Look at that. So once I do this, I'm going to pop it out of the hoop. And then I come back with my fabric scissors and I just roughly kind of cut around it. So I'm not going crazy close, but I like to just cut around because yes, I could shove this whole thing in water and it would, you know, come off, but it's just easier if I just do a little bit of the grunt work beforehand. How cool. So not super close, but just close enough, like that. And then I'll take those, so I have a whole stack of them that I've been doing right here. I'll take those over to the sink and then let the hot water or warm water be able to rinse all the rest of that stabilizer on out of there. We actually need the last pieces, which are the little bitty ribbon that goes around. I don't know what you would call it. It's like a banner kind of thing. And then also the actual little basket, and then a third piece, which is the little holder that goes inside of the hot air balloon so you can hang it up. How amazing they even have that in this design. I love this design. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and return to home, go to my embroidery, to the pocket, the USB, and then I'm going to select the next part of my design. Now, should I do the basket or should I do one of these? Now, I can't personally tell the difference between the little ribbon things. They have 3 different options, so I'm just going to select this front one because I can't tell the difference. I've looked so hard and I cannot tell the difference. So I'm going to hit set and it'll go ahead and it lines them up. So that'll perfect spacing to be able to go all the way around my hot air balloon. So embroidery. And it's one solid color and it takes 42 minutes just to sew this one part out. That is wild. So I'm going to get this sewing. All right, so again, I have my 2 layers of stabilizer. All right, everything looks great. Wait, wrong colors in there. Let me switch it out. And I also need to make sure to switch out my bobbin because, again, this is freestanding lace and I don't want it to show through incorrectly. Okay, switch to my silver. This is going to be so pretty. Alright, let me take this out real fast. I've got to change my bobbin. Not that I don't think a gold bobbin will look nice, but I do want it a little bit more uniform than that. Pop that in. Okay. Alright, and we're off. Okay, so the ribbon is done. I don't know, what would you call this? Is it a ribbon? Is it, what is it? How cool is that? Oh my goodness. Okay, so same concept with the other ones. I'm just gonna cut around it. That way I don't have as much to like put in the water. But I'm gonna put this aside because I will do that in a minute. So I'm gonna come I'm gonna come home. There we go, and grab the last piece of our design. I'm so excited. Okay, so that is going to be, well, oh darn, there's 2 pieces, but it's okay. They'll won't stitch out for that long. How much long does this one take, or how long? 30 minutes, not bad. Alrighty, so I have my little pieces here, and I have really warm, like hot water. And if you look, you put them under, you see that? How it just like evaporates. How wild is this? Now I usually do put a towel right here because I like to wipe my fingers off because it's like sticky residue. You don't have to do that. It is personal preference. So on the back, I mean, it literally just goes away. How cool is that? It's still a little gummy. You can make it go through. I've noticed that warm, like hot water works best for this instead of like, you know, lukewarm water or something. This is a little hot. It is burning my fingers. There we go. You could also, if you wanted to put it into somewhere, and like a bowl or something of warm water, that could also work too, but I've found running the water on it works the best. I'm gonna make sure I get into all these little crevices and the little bitty holes. Like, how cool is that? Yeah, and that one's done. Awesome. So I'm just gonna put her right there and move on to the next one. All right, now these. That is so magical. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. This is like my favorite part. You just rinse all of it out. Okay. And then, okay, so this, I just want to prove a point that like you don't have to cut it if you don't want to, because like it literally will just like come off of this, but then you're left with this like loopy thing. So I like cutting it personally, because then, like I said, you get all this off of you. Ugh. Alright, now I just have to do my basket. Ta-da! How cool. Okay, get in there. Oh, okay. Like the little nodes, like how cool is this? Okay, and then I do like to flip it over. Just let it run on the back a little. Ooh, little pieces flying. How fast was that? Just, all right, so now that I have all the pieces, I am just going to, this one has a little bit left in it, fill it. I am just going to leave them out to dry. So I'm just gonna lay them perfectly flat like this, like that to dry. Just probably on my sewing table. Now, if it was a sunny day, I could actually leave these outside, like on my picnic table or something. And I've done that before and it dried so fast, but today is actually a pretty gloomy day out. So I'm just gonna leave these on my table, maybe with the fan underneath on my sewing table. Oh, look how intricate that is. Oh, I'm so excited. But maybe out on my sewing table with the fan on, and they dry pretty quickly. It's not that bad. Now, to put all the pieces together, there's a few little tools I like to use. The first one is this little thing right here. So this is actually an OESD, what do they call this? A clamp something. I'll pop it on the screen. So a few different tools we need are like this little clamp tool right here. The neat thing about it is that it actually works like little bitty scissors, but there's nothing sharp about this. So it's not going to actually cut anything. It's more like a little grabber tool. So it has this long area right here that does not open. Just the front little tip of this thing actually opens up. How neat is that? So we're able to put this inside of the little bitty circle parts of our design to be able to grab the little nodes and pull them through. So very, very useful tool. Another tool that I use, which technically is a tool, are wonder clips. There's tons of different clips out there, alligator clips and whatnot, but I like these because they're, again, nothing sharp, so nothing's gonna tear at my design, and it's gonna hold the pieces in place. All right, so we have our tools right here. So I have 3 of the little clips, and then I have my little tool like this. You need something like this, something. I love this one because, again, it opens, so this part, nothing's opening up, so I can slip it through one of the eyes like this. Ooh, not that far. And then grab another piece of the little bitty node like that and be able to pull it through here easily. So you need something like this. I know some people use little bitty tweezers that have a very, very small end. these are just easier for me, but it's personal preference, whatever you prefer. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my pieces, and then I'm just gonna take my tool, and I actually like to start from the bottom like this, slip that through. So that way it's far enough where that little bitty front part can open up like that. Just enough where it can open up. All right, grab, I'm gonna put the wrong one, grab the little bitty node or whatever you wanna call this, notch, and then push this down. Okay. And then I personally like to wiggle back and forth. It helps me get it through. Now, once you do that, you can put a little clip right here. That way it's not going to pull back through when you're doing the next ones. Honestly, I noticed once I get these done, it's not going to pull through. But just for the first one, I do like to put a little clip there. All right, so let's grab, push that through that next one. Okay. Okay. Now, if you notice right here, you'll have that little bitty opening, that little circle, and then you have a node. That node is what's going to be used to put this ribbon around. So it's going to actually connect here. So ignore that one for now. Just make sure that it is sticking out and you don't accidentally stick it inside of there. So I'm just going to grab the next one. If you want to go ahead and put that other clip right here, you can. I just feel like once you've done these, it doesn't really open back up, but if you want to. Oh. Top one. Alrighty, so I have the first part done. I took off the little clips. Look how cool is that? Oh, I love it. I could have ironed this if I wanted to, but it's fine. It's fine. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to stop geeking out about this one because we have a few more to do. Now, personally, I like to do them like in sets of 2, so I'll have like another one done, and then I'll connect those together instead of just doing it in one line. But it's personal preference if you want to do it in a set of 3 and then do that. I just don't want to have to hold a whole thing while I'm trying to pull these through, personally. But again, it's up to you. This is your piece. So I'm going to start on my next one. Okay, so while I was doing this, I noticed something. So they have it where you put the little nodes on the outside, like the little bitty holes on the outside. I accidentally did one backwards and I put them on the inside. And I think I like it better. What would you guys say? Little dots on the outside or little dots on the inside? I think it actually just looks cleaner and nicer this way than this one. Which, I mean, it doesn't look bad. I just think this one looks nicer. So, personal choice, 100% up to you. But I think I am going to go ahead, and I've already been doing it. I'm going to just put them on the inside. I think it just looks nicer. I don't know. Again, it's not hard to get them out. I'm just like lightly pulling at them to get them out. And they're coming out pretty easily. And it was honestly really easy to put them back in there because I'd already like done this part. So they were like a bit stretched out and it wasn't bad at all. So I'm going to go around doing that now because I think it looks nicer. All right, this is where it's going to get a little tricky because this is the last one. And I somehow need to pull them in. I mean, if one of them is sticking out, is that going to be terrible? Probably. Let's see. All right, I think that going from the top. Okay, so I need to come from this angle because I want to pull it within. Yeah. Okay. I'm having way too much fun with these things. All right, I think this is where it's going to be really important to have those wonder clips because I have a funny feeling that it's going to want to come undone. Did it pull? No. Try that again. How do people do this without these little, it's not even scissors because there's nothing sharp about these things, but these little clasper things, awesome. Okay, that clip in there just to hold it. All right, next one. And I'm fully aware of the fact that me choosing to do it the way I'm doing does make it harder. But you know what? It's so cute. It's cuter this way, right? I don't know. Everyone in the comments screaming, saying, no, it looked better the other way. All right, so we have our base here. How pretty is that? Okay, so I'm gonna set him over to the side because we still need to connect all these other pieces together. To make one big line of them. Okay. Now that we have that, we can go ahead and connect it to this part. And the way that it connects is those little bitty dots that were sewn out. And we had to switch out colors. I made mine silver. So that's the same thing. You're just going to connect this in. Now, if you want to, you can connect this in and then slip it over and do that. But I don't know if that'd be any easier. So I'm going to try to not do it that way and see what happens. And then the last one connects back into that other little node. Yeah, I think it was easier just to do it that way instead of connecting the whole ring, you know, all of it on the circle. But it is personal preference, whatever you prefer. All right, now I did kind of rough this thing up while I was doing this, so I can go around and kind of use my tool to like fluff everything back out and shape it back to where it needs to be, get some of these wrinkles out, you know. So cute. Okay, so I'm gonna put her off to the side, and then next I want to do this part together. So for this one, there's actually, if you look really closely at it, there's holes that are, you know, the actual holes that little things can go in, and then there's some that are sewn kind of closed. There's a little bit of something in between them. So I actually usually take the tool and I go in there to be able to see them a little bit better. So for this piece, what we need to do is before we actually close it, this is how you're gonna put your bottom on there. So I'm gonna grab it. I love this little tool. There we go. Okay, and then we're gonna come over here. So you skip one that's closed, and then you go to this one and it perfectly lines up with that next part. Skip one, go to the next. Okay, and then next we can close up this little area right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and push it through, grab our little node, and then pull. Like that. Okay, so once we have that, it looks so good. All right, once we have that, we're gonna take the bottom of our hot air balloon and we're just going to put it through the holes. Now, if you notice, all of them have these little holes, but we're gonna skip every other. So we're gonna take the little bottom part of our basket and we're gonna pull through this little hole like that. pull through. All right, skip one, come to the next. And that. Okay. Okay. One. Go. Go. There we go. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. Okay, so we still have one more thing we need to do, which is this little piece right here slips in to here like that, and it actually goes inside of here. So if we put that in, so that way it'll hold the top of your balloon like this. So I'm gonna finesse this and kind of go around and fluff it up for me, manhandling it while I was putting that up. And are you ready to see the finished product? In 3, 2, 1. Guys, we made a hot air balloon, a awesome 3D hot air balloon with freestanding lace. How amazing was that? I absolutely adore this project. I love how versatile it is with the different colors that you could use, the different fabrics you could use. There's so many, and then of course the design comes with different options as well. So different things that you can do. So I'm gonna make a couple of these because I think it'd be really cool to make like a mobile situation, like sitting there with like maybe 3 or 4 of them at different heights in my son's room in the corner. Like how amazing would it be? Over his reading nook. I'm excited. So I think this is really cool. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. A little bit different than what we normally do, but definitely a lot of fun. Don't forget that the Brother ScanNCut is available on our website, allbrands.com, as well as tons of other things like Brother 6 Needles and Brother Layers and Notions and all sorts of awesome things. So definitely check that out. I will, of course, link this particular design down below, as well as all the different tools that I used, the stabilizer I used, the thread I used. So it's one-stop shop for all these awesome things to do freestanding lace. Also, I'll put a few of my other freestanding lace designs that are my favorite that I've done that are super, super cool. So thanks for hanging out with me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's the easiest way to let us know that you guys enjoyed these videos. Y'all have a good night. Bye. Did not come with a pre-done. Well, please, while the ambulance goes by. Or police, or something. Come on, go by faster. There we go. If you want to use your brayer tool just to be able to brayer it down on there, you are more than welcome to. My fabric mat was pretty clean, so I don't think I'll have any issues with this. Did I just jinx myself? And then she's good to go ahead and do the silver part. Ooh, no, she's not. I should probably actually thread it. That would make a lot of sense. Why didn't you guys warn me? Come on, guys. Nope. There's my cat.
You cannot eat this, Meredith. I promise. It's not something you want to eat.